Hey again, it's Michael from YouTube Guitar Tutorials on YouTube. This is part 7 of Beautiful Day. We have covered the intro harmonics, the verse, and the main chorus chords. I also in part 6 covered the chords underlying the riff that we're going to cover now. That's after that first chorus. It's a famous little riff by The Edge. It's one of my favorite parts of the song. The underlying chords to what we're about to do is this. I showed it before. So we did that, and that's with the full distortion. So before we go through the next part, I'm going to go through the signal path and the tone. As you all recall, the verse had a quarter note delay, and I'm taking some liberties here because of course no one knows exactly what The Edge is doing. But let me take you as a reminder that the clean tone that I used on the verse, which was this part, that was a quarter note delay. And the mix was on the XFX anyway about 30%. So you just want to get the bell tone. It's very subtle. When you move to this next riff that we're going to go over, it is my opinion that The Edge uses 2 delays. So I'm going to switch presets here, and I do a preset change for this part. And you'll notice we're going to build it up. The first, you still use a quarter note delay. So the quarter note delay is still your bass delay. So however, I also think the mix is a slightly higher. I'm, as you know, pretty overly particular, but if you listen to this part in a moment that The Edge is going to play, you're going to hear it. So what I do is I start with the quarter note delay, and I've got the mix up. It's the same delay as we used on the last, the verse, but I moved the mix up to 35%. And I also increased the repeats just a little bit. So I've got the 37% feedback. So it sounds like this. So we're going to be covering this riff. Before I go into the details of the rest of the delay, here's the riff that we're going to be doing. So here's that riff without the delay. Now when you play that with 1 delay, that's the quarter note delay, a few more repeats, a little more in the mix. Again, it sounds like this. Well, actually, it turns out The Edge adds another delay. And the delay that I'm adding in series with this delay is a 350 millisecond delay. That does not follow a quarter note or an eighth note or any other note. It probably comes closest to, let me see if I can tell you what it is. It comes, a quarter note triplet is 294 milliseconds, and dotted eighth note is 331. You could use the dotted 8 in series. It would sound like this. But what I've learned from someone else is that is a pure dotted 8 with a quarter note, but since it's exactly on tempo, it's very mechanical. It sounds again. Well, I believe that The Edge changes that up a little bit, and I think what works really well is to not do a tempo, but to set that delay up a little bit to 350 milliseconds. So the 350 millisecond delay alone sounds like this. So the riff is... Now we add the quarter note in there. I'm doing the 350 millisecond delay into the quarter note delay, And remember, a quarter note at the BPM of 136, which is this song, the quarter note delay is 441 milliseconds. So let's play those now in series. And it sounds like this with just one stroke. A little smoother, a little bouncier. It's just got a little off bit. Oh, the rhythm is just off a bit. And it's got a nice texture to it. So the quarter note is the real main note delay, and what's happening is the 350 millisecond delay is just accenting it and giving it a little bounce to it. You can use a dotted eighth into a quarter note if you like. It sounds fine. You're not going to be able to really tell the difference. But I believe that Edge's probably has that second delay somewhere between 340 and 360. You can play around with it. If you go down to 200, 300, you'll see it doesn't work. If you go up to 441, obviously what the other delay is set for, it's just going to go right on top of each other. You're only going to have one delay. So if you play around between the 200 and 441, you're going to find around 350, you get this really nice. Well, if you're wondering if this is even close and if it's correct, why don't we find out from the Edge himself? Let's watch a clip from the BBC video where Edge is talking about his Explorer, and then he actually goes through this riff. And then what we'll do after we listen to it is I'll play it right afterward one more time, and then I'll go through the specific picking.
This was an interesting part. It caused a bit of a stir in the studio when I first played it. I'll try and play it a bit more quietly. The reason it caused a bit of a stir is that
Okay, we just heard the Edge play this. And again, I'm going to play it now, and I don't have an Explorer, but I'm on, by the way, the bridge pickup. I've got the two delays in series, and it sounds like this. Okay, so that's the delay settings for this part. Now, Edge was playing it clean there. If you listen to Vertigo, he probably overdrives the guitar into the amp or uses a boost, and he gets a crunchy, distorted sound. If you listen to the studio version, there's definitely some TS9 or SD1 or a distortion model. When I did my recording on YouTube, the one with the pictures, I used a distortion. I like that sound from the studio version. So now let's add, and he might actually use the drive in the live version also, but you can adjust it to your liking. That was obviously too clean. I don't like that. So I add a slight bit of SD1 model in front of the amp, and here's what it sounds like.